especially when you talk about the patterns and everything. I think that's something that we really don't pick up, but those patterns will keep showing up in your
Right,
life once you start realizing that they're there. So I
right.
have another question for you. I'm a 4. That's one
Mhm.
of the numbers that you talked about that could be a mental health number.
Yes, ma'am.
So for the listeners, if you determine that you have one of these numbers, what can
Mhm.
you do to make the best out of what you're going through?
Exactly. Well, that's the premise of being a numerovator or being and using numerovation, because I use the discipline of and the ancient system of numerology, which was probably not called that in Africa or in ancient languages, but it was definitely coined around 1907, 1908 by a Julian Staton, and that called numerology, which is just the study of numbers. So every form of application of numbers, whether you're doing mathematics, subtraction, anything is a study of numbers, it's numerology. It's just that we have now made it only esoteric and not physical. It's physical and spiritual because we use math and it's applied mathematics. Now, all numbers have their health balances, their duality in health, whether it's high or low. It's just what in my studies, the 4, 7, 8, and 3, 4, 7, 8, 5, and 3 has been noted to keep on showing itself when it came to mental disturbances or nervous breakdowns. That's what it is. So when you do have a certain amount of fours, or you're connected to any one of those numbers, 4, 7, and 8, the way you offset, or 5 and 3, the way you offset that is to recognize that the mind is a terrible thing to waste. And according to studies back in MIT, back around 25, 30 years, Les Brown and Tony Robbins and various other motivational speakers have mentioned this, it takes 16 positives to knock out one negative. So if you're in close proximity of a number 4, 7, 8, 5, or 3, 5 and 3 is last on the board because they're usually supposed to have jovial, uplifting energy unless somebody gets or something gets on their nerve that directs them and brings them into mental instability. But the premise is for those that have connections to those numbers. And it's not just you being born on it or 4 is your life path and all that. You could be going through a pattern of a year like that, a year cycle, a daily cycle, a monthly cycle. Because when you add a person's month and day to the particular year it is, then that cycle can also show up because numbers run through your chart every day, run through your life every day, just through time and all of that. So once you understand that these numbers have a possibility to bring down the energy in you, then you have to be responsible enough to bring your energy up by listening to motivational people, listening to affirmation, constantly bombard you. Like I said, MIT did the study. 16, it takes 16 positive to knock out one negative. If that's the case, then we need to constantly bombard our mind because they're really inundating our mind through media, television, radio, on and keeping us on a low vibration for a reason. Because the more you keep people on a lower vibration, that's when the lower vibration helps to bring in the insult of disease, mental disease as well as physical diseases. So we
Wow.
got to protect our mind. So it doesn't matter if you're born on a 4, born on a 1, or born connected to. Remember, these are numbers that came to guide us. So you're not controlled. And I don't say you're a number 1 or you're a number 4. I say no, you're connected to the energy and vibration of the 4, the 1 through 9, or whatever. But it's how you use the higher interpretation. And like a great pastor who was from New York, Brooklyn, New York, named A.R. Bernard used to say at his church, he's born August the 10th, he said, you must learn to strengthen your strengths and manage your weaknesses. Very important. And the saying that I said earlier, the mind is a terrible thing to waste, was coined by a great scholar and doctor named Arthur Fletcher, who was over the United Negro College Funds. And he was born December 22nd, and 2 + 2 = 4. I'm not surprised he would say something like that because the mind is a terrible thing to waste. And if you're wasting it on garbage and foolishness in your mind, remember the mind, whatever goes in the mind, it stays there. And if you're not willing to offset the madness that they're trying to put in your mind by constantly meditating whether it's before you go to bed or whether as soon as you get up or whether throughout the day, then you're going to allow the festering of the negative stuff to come into you, and you could be very detrimental to yourself as well as your family with those energies coming in.